The media greatly influences society. They influence their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over were deprived of such privileges, the privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide news on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained.
Among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
The Amber War Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers,
are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop. Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Undaunted Weekly Recap. It is a week after the October 1st independence. Remember that October 1st, 2022 has been entered once more in the annals of Amazonian history as commemoration activities went fever high from Ndian County in the Savannah to Fako County in the Atlantic zones.
Truly, audios and videos flooded the social media worldwide, showing how resolute, how resolved, how determined, and how the eager desires to get to Boya burns in the hearts and minds of Amazonians. Well, today is here. It's the day to continue with our drafting. Today we draft Indian, but before the draft and the pre-draft show properly, we'll get into the recap for the week.
Oh, yes, but before we get to the recap proper, let's get to know and study Indian for some minutes. Now, Indian is the second largest county by land area, but the third least populated of the 9 municipalities in the county, Bamaswar in the most populous 20,000 people, and Kumbo Abiodemo in the least. The Bamaswa municipality is being subdivided into two zones, that is, the maritime and the mainland area with two distinct biophysical environments. The maritime, which comprises of about 11 villages, is surrounded by an evergreen mangrove ecosystem forest with high variety of biodiversity, that is, birds and animal species. Three-quarters of the surface area is below sea level with an altitude of about 1 meter to 5 meters. Three different linguistics or ethnic groups live together in the council area: Oroko, Balondo, and the Bakole. There are also immigrants who have migrated to settle in these areas, which include Nigerians, Moguns, Ghanaians, Bewaris, and the Northwesterners who engage in agriculture, fishing, and other income generating activities, which includes the civil service. Indian County is home to 135 ethnic groups, which are concentrated in the mainland area, while the maritime areas are mostly populated with Nigerians, Ghanaians, and the Mosgons who are involved in fishing activities.
Now let's look at Indian's economy. With 8,100 tons in annual food crop production alone, Indian County comes in eighth nationally. Economically, it is most similar to Manu and Ngoketunja. CDC, KEC, and Dax Oil Company are the biggest companies in the county. Economic activities of Indian County is driven by growth along the Kumba corridor, which extends its wards towards Mbonge and Kumba, the dens and then into Mbonji in Tombel municipality. Indian's resources, The county hosts 100% of Amazonian's proven oil reserves located offshore in the Rio de Rey Basin. In terms of tourism and biodiversity conservation, Korup National Parks covers an area of over 1,260 kilometers square of mostly pristine forest, reputed as one of Africa's oldest and richest rainforests in terms of floral and faunal diversity. It is the most accessible rainforest national park in Cameroon, with basic lodging infrastructure and a large network of trails open to visitors. Now, other touristic attractions include Rumpi Hills Wildlife Reserve, created in 1941, covering about 45,843 hectares, that is 177 square meters, and Ndongore National Park. Tourism and hospitality experts have estimated that these national parks and tourism throbs would have been attracting over 100,000 tourists to Indian Division annually.
All right, we'll continue with most interesting part of Indiana right after the Undaunted recap proper. But before then, let's give you this break.
The Amber World Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers,
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop. Aurelio, welcome back. The first October 2022 celebration was filled with patriotism and full-blown activities showcasing the Amazonian culture in commemoration of the 1961 independence fraudulently stolen from the people of southern Cameroon's Amazonia with the help of UN facilitated by Britain and France as they ignore the UNGA of 1608. Now we saw public demonstrations, march passes, and of course a real ARF's military drill and open display from Libya to Fako, Mehmet to Kope, Indian to Dongan, Mazem to Memo, Ngokentuja to Bui, Boyo, Menchum, and many others. Well, we celebrate everyone for their encouragement and sacrifices in ensuring that we recorded this great feat of October 1st, 2022. Now, let's see some of the videos.
Release! Ali! Attention! Weapons up! Ali! Attention! One step backward! Ali! Attention! One step forward! Ali! Attention! Ali! Attention! Right side turn! Attention! Weapons down! Ali! Attention! Weapons up! Ali! Attention! Consistent! Ali! Attention! Weapons down! Ali! Attention! Weapons up! Ali! Attention! Consistent! Ali! Attention! Weapons down! Ali! Attention! Weapons up! Ali! Attention! Consistent! Ali! Attention! Ready for action! Ready to shoot! Release! Ready to position! Ali! Attention! Consistent! Ali! Attention! Ready for action! Ready to shoot! Release! Maintain position! Ali! Attention! Consistent! Ali! Attention! Ready for action! Ready to shoot! Release!
Wasn't that a beautiful drill from the Armed Restoration Forces? Really beautiful. And that was a display on the 1st of October 2022, Independence Day for Amazonia. While celebrations marking that day were observed in full gear all over Amazonia, not just the Armed Restoration Forces, from Kumbo under the watchful gaze of General Tolkien due to the Bui County Armed Restoration Forces were not left out. The beautiful, happy people of Southern Cameroon's Amazonians were seen rejoicing throughout. No one was left out of the celebration, not the mothers, not the fathers. The youth had an amazing time celebrating, and there's a lot of excerpts from this, like you're seeing on the screen. Okay, beautiful match pass there. Not just the Armed Restoration Forces, every other youth like you saw. Very beautiful, beautiful one from 1st of October, Independence Day.
All right, so another major highlight of the day was the gift of numerous food items to the refugees in Nigeria. From reports gathered, President Samuel Ikomensako, Dr. Tita African, and Tapadi King were the frontliners in achieving this particular feat for our refugees.
The Federal Republic of Ambazonia, headed by Dr. Sako Ikome. And down here we have detergent, we have soap, we have biscuits, we have Indomie, we have drinks apart from the one that has been served to the population during item 11. Here we have King's, which is granite oil, and here is still the process of loading garlic. You can see right inside the bottle, we undergo the process of loading. Thank you so much. Today being the 1st of October 2022, here in Yata village. These are the today being the first of
Now, the video you saw just now, reports reaching Undaunted told us this week that the Department of HSS and Ma Rachel also ensured that these were fed, so it's courtesy of her. And another major highlight of that day was the Amazonian in diaspora. They had an amazing day as well. Images of Amazonians in Australia, Germany, the UK, and many other countries had series of events celebrating Amazonian Independence Day.
All right, moving on. We looked at the 10 episodes of President's speech on Monday. But for today, because it's a recap, we're going to be looking at 2 and then give you some backups to the other reports from the President's speech. Now, the president talked about the war, how it's been brutal. Of course, we know that so many persons has been killed, over 5,000 killed, and of course, so many persons in refugee camps all over the world and Africa. Let's hear the president.
Fellow Amazonians, on this day, 5 years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Amazonia. This solemn act of restoration was our collective resolve to finally terminate 6 decades of annexation, colonization, and subjugation by our eastern neighbor, La République du Cameroon, which had held us in a chokehold all this while. Some enlightened leaders had attempted to do this in the past for the people. Individuals like Fon Gojidinka and Justice Alobwede, but without groundswell support. This time, the people decided to do it for the leaders. That's why this is the people's fight. Several attempts by our forebears to release us as a people from this stranglehold were either ignored, ridiculed, or violently suppressed. Many of them were assassinated and some died in dungeons, serving life sentences handed down to them by La République du Cameroon colonial kangaroo courts, if they were lucky at all to have their day in court. As I address you today, more than 50,000 of our compatriots, mostly civilians going about their daily lives, have been massacred by French Cameroon. Going by these figures, on average, at least 27 of our citizens are massacred every single day these past 5 years, meaning more than 1 Amazonian is killed every hour from the day we restored our independence. Putting this in perspective, before I finish addressing you tonight, at least 1 Amazonian civilian must have been summarily murdered by French Cameroon soldiers, just for being Amazonian. This genocidal war declared on us by the 90-year-old dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017 is raging, and our people are going through this horror in pain and in plain sight while the world watches on. This is our reality. Unlike any other day, today's occasion pays tribute to the resilience of a people who give meaning to the resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly by not only restoring, but defending our right to self-determination. Like Nigeria, our neighbors to the west, we were supposed to be celebrating our twin Independence Day with pomp, but no, not when our streets are still wet with the innocent blood of our heroes and the tears of our helpless people. Not when our killers, bound by a barbaric oath, have made many of our kindreds homeless and stateless. Not when 50,000+ of our people are crying out for vengeance in mass graves, not when our intelligent ones are languishing behind bars in the darkest of inhumane cells. The most important thing we, the survivors, must celebrate today is our courage to challenge our fears and correct this error and ensure truth and justice prevails.
Now, that was an excerpt from the president's powerful, always remarkable speech on Independence Day, and he talked more about directly confronting Bia. He directly confronted Bia, and there's also an important excerpt about this.
Let me address dictator Paul Biya of La République du Cameroon and the sponsors of this genocide in Ambazonia. Your arrogance in rejecting any form of international mediation is exacerbating the little resistance that our forces had as we defend ourselves within the boundaries of our territory. Take this seriously. Trying to gather or consult some so-called Anglophones anywhere in the diaspora for some informal talks or consultation does not sound like a strategy to end this war. La République du Cameroon has never dialogued with us. In 1960-61, in Fumban, La République aborted the first genuine dialogue and opted for unilateralism. And in 1966, they dissolved our institutions without dialogue. In 1972, they changed the form of state between a supposed two states of equal status without dialogue. In 1984, they changed the name of the country, reverting to their former name, the name they used, and they seceded from the experimental union without dialogue. In 1993 and 94, they refused to dialogue with us. In 1996, they refused to organize a sovereign national conference we demanded for genuine dialogue. In 2017, they refused to dialogue with our consortium of civil society organizations. And in 2022, they rejected the Swiss mediation process for genuine dialogue. They are, however, lying to the international community that they have won the war. The peace has returned in Ambazonia, and the reconstruction is already going on. Please, don't blame a serial liar. Blame those who continue to believe him. The République du Cameroon is free to do her endless circles of informal consultations with so-called Ambazonia leaders in the diaspora as they chose. When they will be ready to meet Ambazonia, the IG will meet with them. It shall be government delegation versus government delegation. No more, no less. If the colonial government of La République du Cameroon is not part of any delegation, the government of Ambazonia shall not also be part of any so-called delegation to meet whoever comes in the name of La République du Cameroon. If after 3 years of toying with and outrightly trashing the Swiss mediation, La République is only interested in orchestrating third-party informal consultations with no direct government involvement, it means they have outrightly rejected the path of peace. While they contemplate using their so-called special forces to kill more of our innocent population, we cannot afford to take our eyes off the war for a minute. We will match La République du Cameroon strategy for strategy. We must match them in height and in breadth, in firepower. Ambazonia will have to deal decisively with all trespassers and facilitators of this genocide on our people. To do so effectively, we will take out every legitimate target anywhere and anytime. The enemy's manipulative narrative to water down the genocidal war and market it as an internal crisis instead of an international armed conflict is in complicity with the ICRC. It is their unconvincing denial that we are two states of equal status, and a strategy to push back the do-nothing international community from even contemplating a direct foreign intervention. It is morally dishonest for the International Red Cross to describe what is happening in Ukraine as international conflict. What is happening in Central African Republic and Congo as armed conflicts. They classify the war in Amazonia as a mere internal conflict, internal crisis. Such assisted delay tactics by a reputed organization like the International Committee of Red Cross will only escalate the cost of this war and shatter La Republique's economy, which is now on life support. The ICRC should be professional and reclassify the war in Amazonia as an international armed conflict. That's the right thing to do.
The Commander-in-Chief doffed his hat for the valiant Ambazonia Restoration Forces ARFs, describing their elite force as children of destiny, born to liberate the people from bondage as one united force. Dr. Sako cautioned them to be valiant and vigilant and watch out for manipulation and intoxication and fight only their enemy, that is, La Republique du Cameroon. He intimated Arden that kidnappers and abductors are not fighting the enemy and the population must de-associate themselves from kidnappers and abductors who are there to tarnish the image of genuine fighters.
Now, another interesting aspect was education. The interim government cherishes education but values lives of the children as well. Dr. Sako called on the United Nations through a peacekeeping force to create buffer zones and make the environment secure and safe for children, teachers, and parents. Dr. Sako quoted samples how children have been abducted in schools guarded by La Republique du Cameroon soldiers with on investigations conducted thereafter, and such acts are recurrent.
All right, he talked about the promised land. Dr. Sako described Ambazonia as a land that will be flowing with milk and honey. It will be a center for development, a melting pot, a business hub, a citadel for education, and many more.
That happened to be my favorite part of his speech. And going on with the recap, earlier this week we reported on the evening hours of Friday, September 16, 2022, that St. Mary's Catholic Parish in Nchang Village, Manfe, was burned down with 8 faithfuls kidnapped. That is 5 priests, 1 nun, and 2 lay faithfuls. We gave you this report on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, that these persons were taken to an unknown destination and the perpetrators were not known. Right Reverend Aloysius Fongfong Abangalo, the Bishop of Manf, statement after the arson and kidnap said it was orchestrated by Christians of that parish whose sons of Nchang village.
Now, Archbishop Andrew Nkia, president of the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference, in a communique of September 17th, Simple styled the perpetrators as gunmen. Now, there was a letter addressed to Pope Francis as declared the air on who the perpetrators are. Freedom fighters in Manfe carried out the act and they have laid down conditions that should be met for the release of the 8 kidnappers.
Now, another report we looked into was the CPDM story 3 years after the failed major national dialogue, which was nothing less than a national monologue or the ruling CPDM come together. Former Amber fighters have been licking their wounds after realizing too late that the colonial La Republique du Cameroon genocidal government in Yaoundé had duped them with fallacious promises.
Now, from the videos emanating from the protests, we can say that these men were misguided. These young men sent out fresh outbursts of anger at the regional center of the National Committee for Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration (DDR) of Boyer Branch, where they voluntarily went for self-imprisonment since 3 years, saying they are tired of waiting for their reintegration into civilian life.
Meanwhile, the interim government is not part of any gathering in Canada. And if you don't want to call it Grand Debate National 2, you could call the CDN Toronto 2. Its membership, which is made of Agbobala, Omam Esther, John Mbakuro, Cho Ayaba, Archbishop Nkia, traditional rulers, and a whole lot more. New entries are likely going to be Anu Christopher, Bo Habert, Abdul Karim, etc. It is said that the interim government was approached and their response was, "We aren't part of any of such gatherings."
Now, in another development, we told you that Bui is a hot ground for La Republic to Cameroon, as they show that they have what their neighboring countries have been as well. Now, Boyo, in the same light, have shown intense resistance against the colonial military burning the midnight oil to ensure there is no invasion of the county by any trespasser. Now, here we have a video of the ARFs of Boyo, headed by Supreme General Ni and Brigadier Kola, keeping the enemy of Amber territory, doubling force just after the Independence Day celebration. Let's get a feel of that video.
Wait! Wait!
We don't walk that bush beat them. Not enough for them, not enough for them. We don't scatter all thing. We don't scatter all thing. We don't send up for inside water. Not them that we don't send up for inside water. Hey, hey. We don't send up for inside water. All thing, we don't scatter all thing for them. Not them that.
All right, and that's another reason why you must and should draft. Remember, today we draft for Ndian. It's time for you to get everyone together for us to draft. Of course, you know that their pre-draft show will never be complete without some representatives from the county that is drafting. We are drafting for Ndian, and at the other end we have Mr. Tapadi King to give us and show us our representatives from Ndian County today. Mr. Tao, over to you.
Good evening and welcome to this very special segment of our program this evening. Thank you, the Undaunted ladies, for granting me the access. Now we have the county chair for Ndian here for us to enhance this discussion this evening. Tata Jonas on the move, but he has still made it possible for us to come and to have a discussion. And Dr. Jonas, I can see you. I know you're driving while you are enhancing this discussion. I'd like you to be stable so that we can kick off from here. Good evening, Dr. Jonas. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Comrade Paddy. Good evening, Amazonians. Good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Everybody knows today is our day, the day of Ndian County draft. I want to thank everyone who have tuned in and anyone who will be coming in for today. Hoping to hear from you. Anybody who needs anything to be explained, we will. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so very much for opting to come in spite of your busy schedule. That shows your commitment to ensuring that this county that has been so badly affected by infiltrators, I would say in-house enemies. Some would rather want to call them coopers. Your dedication to make sure that it is standing still and fighting for our people is very important. The very critical issue about today for tonight's draft is that it's a draft for the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, I'm talking about President Sarko's wife, who happens to be a daughter from Ndian, and Ambazonians that are coming this day to draft the women, the youths, home and abroad. We should be conscious of this. It's quite important. Even scripture says, give honor to whom honor is due. At least she is first lady of our nation. And as a part of this honor, think about what it takes to be a father of a home. And think about how much time the president will give in to make sure that we have our nation, or a nation like this, uh, represented, or represented in every aspect. I want you to really think about that. Before I even go further with this discussion, there's a video I'm sure you people have watched, which I would like to bring it again. It is 6 minutes. It has to do with our women. So, Tata Jonas, watch this video and then get some music from Diane to vibe the air. A lot of Amazonians are yet to join the Zoom. I'm calling on those watching us on Facebook and on YouTube to start logging in into the Zoom. You can log in. We are streaming live on Zoom. If you log in, you will still participate in the discussion. But while we get the music ready, I want us to watch this video. It's interrelated with the reasons why we're fighting at this time. This was done by Amazonian women and other Black American women who thought that even though we're drafting to enhance home front during this time of war, there are other avenues that we can knock and ensure that our story is not only heard, or that opportunities are created for us to have the discussion of our freedom quest placed on the high tables of the world. So stay tuned.
Fellow citizens of the world,
arise and shine.
Arise for my people,
for Ambazonia.
Stand up for the oppressed.
Arise and stop the war now.
We are referring to all Black people scattered around the globe.
For men and women of color, the statistics of mass killings in our U.S. communities are alarming.
We cannot underestimate the power of our connections. Our history as Black people is intricately linked. We have been subjected to violence, mass killings, and dehumanization due to racism and Black on Black violence.
Have you ever been in a place where 2-month-old babies are killed with live ammunition? Where babies are fried in hot boiling oil?
Our guns, turned at each other, are cutting our destinies short and bringing untold misery to our families and friends.
These are the realities of my homeland.
The question is, can politicians and celebrities do something to end mass killings?
The actual lives lost to these mass murders, does it bother you? Does it bother your humanity? Then you, senators and governors, can help turn our whispers into a roar.
When we the people, as millions of united, passionate, loving people, blend our voices together as one voice to send a booming message to leaders throughout the world that we will accept no more killings, brutality, or tyranny. We will end mass killings.
On October 1st, 1961, the former British Southern Cameroons was recolonized by France through its proxy, La République du Cameroon, which remains a colony of France to date. After decades of marginalization, President Biya of La République du Cameroon waged war on the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, also known as Ambazonia, on November 30th, 2017.
If you take a closer look, it is France supporting and sustaining these wicked acts because of the natural resources of Ambazonia.
Recently, we lost the longest ruling monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. She's being revered for her personal achievements for Great Britain. In Africa, she's being remembered for some very dark period of Britain's relationship with colonial rule, her failure or negligence to right those wrongs.
As the world mourns Queen Elizabeth II today, perhaps for her good works, our nation, Ambazonia, mourns her unfinished business, the botched decolonization of our territory, the root cause of the genocidal onslaught today. Is it not globalization that is preached to us every day? Was it not globalization that spoke out for Ukraine? Why is it that the same globalization is not at work to save the lives of Ambazonia?
Rise up, men and women of God's creation.
Please join in the movement to end this unwarranted violence and mass killings.
Be an advocate for the movement of change for peace and justice.
You, Mr. and Miss Senator, and governors can whisper a loud message to President Biden to go after the truth. We will cover you with our prayers.
To save the world from destruction, to close the inequality gap within and amongst countries.
This is a movement, a call to action. Join the movement.
Visit and sign the petition on change.org. Stop mass killings in Ambazonia and the world.
10 voices for the voiceless.
Okay. Tata Jonas, you're welcome back. I'm sure you would like us to continue this discussion at this time. As you can see, Tata Jonas is driving. He actually told me he has a tight day. Can we continue our discussion, Tata Jonas? Okay, while we're waiting to connect him. Okay, you're welcome back. Yep. Now, real quickly, so that we can release you to drive, get to your destination, and get hooked up with those that have come to your, all those who've come to your county to draft with you. I'd like to find out something. Perhaps you want to tell us how the county has been coping up prior to this time. We understand that a certain individual in the UK calling herself.
I can talk if you need to.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Tata Jonas? Okay, meanwhile, as we're trying to ensure that Tata Jonas is connected, let's get to Oroko land and listen to some beautiful music while I try to connect him. Yes, Tata Jonas, I hope your connection permits you to get in the ambience at this point. Can you talk now?
Yes, I can talk. It's just that the network is playing. Yes, I can.
Good. Now, Amazonians would like to know, as they gather from every county, home and abroad today to draft for Ndian, they would like to know what work you've been able to do to put together, or how have you been able to reconstitute a shattered Ndian that was left in pieces just a few months ago. I pray we are able to.
Very important one. That happened with revolutions. As individuals, we tend to keep our mind fixed, not to be blown away by a hearsay or any wind that is blowing. You've got to get an open mind. Whatever you hear, it's always good for you to do some finding. Unfortunately, we had a scenario. Many of us were not willing to go into us. And happened. It's not easy. Indiana and in many other counties. What's important is that the truth is always a difficult thing. It takes a long time, and slowly people will start understanding. And when they do, as Ambazonians, I am just praying that if you do come back to the reality, that is an important word, come back to the reality, because we all make mistakes. We are all children of one parent. They opened things and many different. That notwithstanding, in terms of constituting, it has been very, very difficult. Some people are still on the fence. Some still believe in the lies. Some are now realizing that it was lies. I don't know how they are, whether coming back is a shame. To say it's not a shame. It is all of us make mistakes, I included. So my plea is that if we have realized where we are, if we have realized the truth as it is shown, because the same has happened again and will happen again, and now we are getting fragmented time and again. Thank God I remained in where the truth is. And today everybody can say, it is our county, it is our Ambazonian. I'm saying, let's have a conversation, come back to ourselves, and it's so many. But there is one thing about Ambazonia, which I will be talking also in the draft. Our draft is special today because if you see from the flyer, there is something new there. There's something different there from the rest of the flyers you have seen. That flower indicates to you that Ambazonia is one. And one person is carrying Ambazonia, no matter where you are. That is the CIC and Commander-in-Chief. From that flag, you will see how he's carrying Ndian and all of the Ambazonians behind him. So I just want to say that no matter what is the situation of today, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, come and join us today so that we can finish our revolution. Slowly, slowly, our brothers and sisters are coming back very slowly, but it will take a bit of time. Thank you, Paddy.
Yeah, now, Tata Jonas, I want to find out. You're saying that the handbill that was sent out by Resource Mobilization with only the picture of the president without respecting our tradition of having a county coordinator was actually intentional.
Was actually what?
Are you saying that it was based on your choosing not to have your picture on the flyer?
Yes, there was a reason behind that, and the reason which I've just said, which I'm saying now, to prove something which is different from what we have not seen before. that Ambazonia is one. It is showing that whether we are 5 of us, we are 30 of us, we are 100 of us, we are not just that number. The number is 8 million. That is what that flyer is indicating. And that is what I will be telling people in the draft, that Ndian is showing something different to show that there's somebody who is carrying the whole of Ambazonia. And that is the CIC of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. It was chosen. Thank you.
That's amazing. Now, you've also mentioned the need of some standing on the fence, some coming back. As the leader of that county, have you made any effort? Have you made any effort to reach out to these? Can you hear me, Mr. Jonas? We will definitely come back to that. Now, Mr. Jonas, please get yourself settled. We have a long evening to go. A lot of people are sitting on Zoom. A lot of people are watching you on Facebook, on YouTube, and at the home front. They want to get some of this information from you directly. So get yourself settled, because there are some questions you have to answer. But that notwithstanding, fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen, we prepared for you a very inclusive research when it comes to the county of Ndian. We went down into Ndian and tried to find out why Ndian is what it is. We examined the economy of Ndian. We found out, we want to find out, how can a county like Ndian, that has a son like the colonial prime minister Dion Gute, a county that is supposedly the richest in the two Cameroons put together, could be so underdeveloped? We went to Ndian to do that investigation, and I will give the honor to the Undaunted ladies that have that report. Stay tuned.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Tar, and thank you so much, County Chair for Ndian. All right, so talking about why you must draft, we have Ndian County here for you, much more of Ndian County here for you.
Of course, there is a lot to talk about in Ndian County. It is rich, yet a microcosm of underdevelopment in Amazonia. It is difficult to comprehend how a biodiversified county with 89% of the Cameroon's oil providing a huge capital and life basket for the colonial regime, yet remained hugely underdeveloped and underrepresentable. Well, these are some of the actual issues which advances the cry of Ambazonians for a total free homeland. It is also evident that Ambazonia has been recolonized. If not, how do you explain that they are unable to manage their own resources? Apparently, most of the current elites who come from this county cannot even go home during the rainy season, partly because of the bad roads, and also because some of them have opted to side with the oppressor against their own people. They are considered by Ambazonians as apologists of the Franco-Cameroon hegemony and enablers of the colonial regime.
Right, so the exploitation continues, so let's ride on. Ndian County is one of the richest in terms of natural resources, yet the indigents are too backwards with regards to development. Located in the equatorial zone, it covers an area of 6,626 kilometers. We can say that that is the second largest after Manu, and has a population of about 500,000. Now, those familiar with the Kumba Ekondo Titi Road can confirm it's hell during the rainy season. Having lived in this part of the country for about 8 years, one can tell it is blessed with beautiful vegetation and landscapes, starting with the palm plantation palm oil, the evergreen forest, and never-ending water courses, which are good touristic attractions, and a mild temperature and fresh air overshadowed by the poor state of the road.
Well, this county harbors the rich oil Bakassi and fish peninsula and the Kurup Biodiversity Reserve. It possesses wealth that can take care of its development and even enhance a developed Amazonia. Indiana is home to big names such as Colonial Prime Minister John Ngute, Governor Nasseri Paul Bea, and late Oturu Wilson. It lacks a good road network linking it to the rest of the country. Other touristic attractions include the Rumpi Hills Wildlife Reserve, which is 45,843 hectares, and Ndongore National Park. Experts estimated that if developed, tourism will attract over 100,000 people annually instead of 500. Now, Fortune of Africa FOA, an oil and gas platform, estimated that 89% of the Cameroon's oil can be found in the offshore of Rio del Rey Basin, Ndian County in the equatorial zone. Can you imagine Douala Basin of La République du Cameroon has only 11% of oil that purports from the Cameroon's oil fields in Indiana include Lipenja oil field, Boabakasi oil field, Ekundu Marine, Kole Marine, just to name a few. The creation of this road will not only ease the transportation of goods and services, but create enormous opportunities in the tourism and hospitality industry, which is vital for any emerging economy. The road linking Indiana and Meme is seasonal, and one has the impression that the county has been completely abandoned by the colonial government with regards to infrastructural development. If this is not a calculated attempt to enslave the denizens and keep them ever begging, what could this be?
Now, with all this information, what else can Amazonians as a people do? Now, don't we deserve a system where the county benefits while making sure the region and rest of the nation are not left out? Now, it is time Amazonians and the denizens of the Indian step their game as a people and begin ensuring freedom becomes a reality. Indian County is very rich. It deserves a petrochemical and petroleum institute. It deserves good schools, good road network, good social services for its people, good hospitals, and a policy of no child left behind. Time has proven that this can only work in an independent Amazonia.
Now, our understanding is that these are the principles on which the current struggle stands. Amazonians seek national sovereignty and integrity in the diversity of their homeland by respecting the fundamentals of the cultural, legal, and educational heritage of former British Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. Now, tonight, as we draft for Indian, we hope that resonates in the minds of every Amazonian the need to draft big.
All right, and of course, we need to draft big because that's the reason why we are here. From the 1st of October Independence Day celebration video, that's to tell you that people at the home front, especially, are so interested in getting this freedom. And, it really lies on us. And like Dr. Sako would always say, they are doing their best. They are doing their best. And the rest of the energy should come from us here. So we should draft big. All right, going back to our other studio, Mr. Tapadi King is still at the other end to continue with the interviews before the draft proper. Mr. Ta.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people.
Okay, welcome back, fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this time around we'll be able to get to hear Tata Jonas clearer. And good evening and welcome back, Tata Jonas. I hope this time we'll have a stable connection so that Amazonians can hear from you. It's important that during such a day you're not a regular speaker on this platform, but it's important that during such a time and a day, a very critical moment, they get to hear from the field worker, and county head. Now, my question before we had the break was, you mentioned earlier that some members of this county, can you hear me? That some members of this county are on the sidewalk, they are on the fence. Some coopers are returning. We would like to know the efforts you've made, and if you've made any at all, what are the efforts you've made to reach out to these individuals who are standing on the fence, looking for that window they can come back and be active in the county?
Even before the situation that happened, that in Ndian County, a lot of people were on the fence. So I am not just talking of those who were active. I am talking of every son and daughter of Ndian. A lot of people has been an scenario. However, we are still continuing to reach out, answering doubts and as I told you before, you know this thing takes a while to sink in, but slowly and steady it's going through. And some efforts made. We are seeing willingness. You've got to give people the time that they want to come back on their own. Those who are joining new, we have got a couple, and we're still giving others time to tune in. Home front, we have a couple, in the diaspora, the same, but that job doesn't stop here. It is for all of us. You are from Dian, you could know a friend of yours who is from Dian and extend your hands. But I know that for what we have been doing, the message is going through, and there are some efforts made, and progress and some results. Thank
Yeah, Tata Jonas, thank you very much. That we know. Okay, Ndian,
you. Just to add on,
coming in, can you hear me?
yeah, I want just to add something.
Go ahead. Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, in fact, we know we are achieving, and it's a goal of independence of Amazonia. And the defense team of Ndian, irrespective of what happened, sons and daughters of Ndian, that is why you see Ndian. That is why you see Indian defense, our ARS are not divided. This is because of the work of the whole Indian. That, as you can see in different counties, that room is not in Indian. We have having threats to come and disturb us, but in one have been very strong in that section of things. So that good thing that we have in Indian.
Okay, it's really challenging for us to it's very challenging for us to get your sound accurately. How long do you think it would take for you to get to a stable location as I speak right now? To have to sit somewhere. How many minutes would that take? We're having a breaking news that's coming in. Why I hand over the mic for the girls to hand
Depending on
over
the
this.
draft time we have, it will be about 45 minutes.
Okay, that's going to be quite a while. But try to get a stable network. I'll come back to you. Let's get some music from the Oroko land. I believe Amazonians want to get this music. Right after that, we'll be bringing to you some news. We want to process it and get some details. We're just receiving some news that's coming in now. We want to process it and get some details. Right after that, we'll come back to see if we can get another official from the Ndian County. I was made to understand that the chief of staff was supposed to be a part of this discussion, but she's nowhere to be found. Well, since we cannot reach her, we'll continue with our discussion. But then, while you try to get yourself connected,
Sango Lucas ya be na mesa pas mama ke ko fay mori mi ngadi fenda ngondo ke wengere. He enjaborie labora kote labora ifo me amanyanga e okpombiru. Sakaba se kaka esungu mbanya ndabo sakotaka buri bubandabo. Nibo sibasa kata karuba. Ya yo. Wow. Wow. Mori mingambo baya Omabo keta bo maroko Bongo Ota mori mingambo baya Omabo keta bo maroko babo Bongo Ota mori mingambo baya Opemeke mati mamboka Bongo Ondo ke wengere Bere Mokingari penda monanga toboro Mori mingabari penda Momo nengondo ke Yo, tango pausi, boca y bere, boca vana bakpaki, boca riari. Ota mori mingambo baya o mawo keta bo maroko Ota mori mingambo baya o paneka mati mamboka Ota mori mingambo baya o paneka mati mamboka babo Ingondo inarokinya wawose Kule baboroko wawose Boroko basuwaka wawose Ingondo inarokinya wawose Boroko basuwaka wawose Ingondo inarokinya wawose Yayo, muri mumu nengondo ke toboro
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
yes, fellow Ambazonians, welcome back. As you can see, we're having challenges there to connect with the county chair or coordinator for Ndian. I hope we'll be able to get his sound any minute from now. I was made to understand that he's on the move, actually traveling. I'm calling on those who are watching, those who are on Zoom, to kindly share and invite and tell people that we're locked in and ready to go. Those watching on Facebook and on YouTube, you can do the pleasure for nation to actually enhance this draft for tonight. I will go through some of the details of the report you just heard from the Undaunted ladies. But before that, I'd like us to get this breaking news that's just coming in from Bowie. it's quite imperative, and it gives us a reason why we must draft. So I'm handing over the mic to the newsroom to give us the details.
Reports reaching us from Bui County, La Republic du Cameroon's terrorists invaded the village of Djotine in Noni local government area today and succeeded in arresting General Flyover alongside 7 other fighters and killing his bodyguard by roasting him alive.
General Flyover was a right-hand man of no pity and had sustained an injury during one of the attacks in Oku, which kept him handicapped. Now, his family members were arrested by La Republique du Cameroun terrorists on the 23rd of September 2022 and have not been released until date. Now, Bui security team is giving us this report, and this continues to explain why we must draft. Today is for Ndian. How ready are you? How prepared are you? Have you been drafted since the draft started? Have you not been drafted? Well, whatever your answer may be, you should and must draft today. All right, I'm sure that we all are ready to draft. Mr. Tar, we all are ready. I hope you are ready as well. Over to you after this break.
The Amber World Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort? While our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Ambazonia die as a wish, because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
Let us draft indeed until we drop. You've just heard the news coming in from the Bui County. I want to particularly appreciate the Bui County communication team for being very proactive and facilitating the work. Please, I would recommend that the co-hosts do not change the setting on Zoom until the meeting begins. Thank you for that. So I would like to thank the officials of Bowie County for being proactive and always updating us with reports timely enough. We can only report the things in your county that you give to us, in spite of how much we are not authorized according to procedure to make reports sometimes, especially coming in from counties without getting feedback from the county officials themselves. So if your county is not working with us to give reports, and they should not blame us when we make the reports without necessarily consulting them. So it's important. Bowie is always having accurate reports. It's difficult to report anything about Bowie that is not accurate because the officials of Bowie themselves, and that is the only county. And in Momo, you have many more. I don't know why the other counties are not following suit. Our counties should be able to work with the communications department, particularly ABC Amber TV, to have the information about the county proportionately communicated to the nation of Ambazonia and to the world. We can only work effectively when you give to us information on what is happening in your county. And a draft day like this is also an important opportunity for counties to put together information they would like Ambazonians to know, Ambazonian stakeholders, and Ambazonians that are hoping to be inspired by your counties. It is your responsibility to give information. We are not in your county forum or fora, and you are the ones there. You have the activities. You will not do good, or you're doing a disservice for your county and for the nation if you're unable to put together reports from your counties and LGEs. Thank you that we're going to be challenged by Bowie County, and we will learn from Bowie County to help. I'm talking to every other county. Bowie County is the only county that gives report. And what are the other counties doing? You're not helping your county, and you're not helping the government if you're unable to provide reports on what is happening with your counties. Thank you once again, Bowie County, for being very proactive when it comes to updating. I'm back with Tata Jonas of Ndian County. He's here, the county coordinator himself, being ready to talk to us during a critical time. Now, Amazonians would like to hear from you about 10 Kobo. There was a rumor around the place about 10 Kobo. Fortunately, we got information that 10 Kobo is fine, is acting. Now, 10 Kobo, the restoration forces, Indian, they've done a lot, but we hope to see more. Amazonians want the fire to keep on going on until we get to Boya. Talk to us in that delight, please. Yes, Tata Jonas, we're listening to you.
Yes, buddy. Thank you. It's only good that you said it's rumors because our revolution is now full of rumors. The truth of the matter is that if there was anything wrong with Tenkobo, you should have heard that from us. These guys have their ways. They talk to us, and sometimes they tell us what they have to do and keep us in suspense at some point. Tenkobo is very much alive, very strong. He retreats and is communicating with us through his generals, and we have the feedbacks every day. Tenkobo will soon be back from his retreat. I don't know whether he saw this time of our draft and made it possible that he will be back almost when the draft is done. But the rest is rumors. He is there. His generals will speak to him at his given time, not regularly at his given time, because the retreat is not for fun, it is for serious business. So anybody who have this idea say It's just a hearsay. Hear it from me. Dan Kubo is much alive. We have the things he wanted us to put in place. The draft of today will only be helping us fulfill that before his arrival. I cannot say anything more than this, that he is so much alive. He speaks to his generals, and when he does, they talk to us. So we know he is still alive. Thank you.
Yeah, I will always ask you more questions. When we heard
Yes.
the president during the town hall on Thursday, there were serious concerns that some county officials are disconnected. They are not so much in control of the defense volunteers at the home front. And that's why, following the chain of command, information flow is a challenge. Command or information that is supposed to be taken from the interim government and sent on the ground, there's a disconnect. We've seen that 1st October was a litmus test for most counties. You realize that there's a disconnect between the county authorities and the volunteers on the ground. I want to use that opportunity again to applaud Bafut LGA in Mezam County and Bui and Gokitunja for a great work they did. They were the only ones that proactively came with images for us that we could actually make demands or requests and get accurate information. And there's no evidence that other counties have this kind of fellowship or relationship with the home front. We can only have that evidence based on the information you give to us. Now, I'm saying all of that to come to this. What is your relationship with Ten Kobo and the forces loyal to him?
Buddy, let me tell you the truth because we are talking to Amazonians. As I told you, Ndian County was one of those counties that had an effective control. We had an order of messages, an order of communication. As a defense county, we appointed one person, just one, to take our informations to our ARFs and to the Free Marshal, and only him will bring us back information. When it is necessary that we have to talk to them, all of us, we convene a meeting, in a Zoom meeting where all of them will be present and we will talk. So we had only one single chain of command of communication. So maybe other counties, any commander could call directly, but we did it that way. So it is important that during that time, if you call someone like me and you want to ask me, I will tell you only what I know from the person who was in charge in communication. And what I know is what every other person will know. So that situation did not change until when we have the scenario that we had. At this point, then I had now to realize that I can liaise with our ARFs. And as I just told you,
We might have just lost Tata Jonas again. This is what it is when you have uh, a revolution like ours with very, very patriotic and very busy individuals choosing to serve their people on the move. I applaud every Amazonian, particularly in the diaspora, that has taken out the time. You have some who are they're Amazonians, but they are disinclined to the cause. And some are committed to it in spite of their busy schedule. You just saw the Jonas. He is on a move with a great vision, a great mission, but he's still taking the time to serve his county. Amidst that, he's still taking the time to talk to us. Maybe to recap some of the things he was trying to say, he was trying to tell us about the structure of Ndian County, what is Indian as we speak, and why. And Tata Jonas has spent most of the time tonight to actually explain to us the dangers or whatever affected Ndian County really affected it to the roots. And they are at a reconstruction phase. Whatever Ambazonians will be doing today will help this reconstruction of this county. We are hoping that Ambazonians will consider, if not the plea of this coordinator for Ndian County, we're hoping that Ambazonians will consider the significance of Ndian in Ambazonia. Perhaps I should go through the report that we just had from Undaunted this evening that can help to our understanding of why a draft for Ndian is superlatively imperative. We cannot undermine the reason why a draft for Ndian is a draft for Ambazonia, and why Cameroon has strategically removed Ndian from the tables of discussion. They will make it impossible for that county to be accessible, and they wouldn't want us to understand the worth of Ndian. But science has it that you cannot hide details. According to our reports and our research, Ndian County, a fortune of Africa that is foul, an oil gas platform estimated, this estimate was made about 10 years ago, that 89% of the Cameroon's oil, we talk about petroleum, is found in the offshore of Rio de Rey Basin, and that is in Ndian County in the Equatorial Zone. Now, can you imagine that Douala Basin, that is in the Cameroons, in La République du Cameroon, has less than 12% of everything Cameroon calls petroleum. So Ndian alone has what Cameroon is killing every Ambazonian today. Ndian alone has close to 90%. Can you imagine? That's why they may want to have Diongute there as a figurehead to create some form of appeasement. But this can only work with apologists, not the never again generation. Our generation cannot be flattered with peanuts, the crumbs that are coming from their pockets. Now think about the fact that 90% of oil that Cameroon is exploiting comes from one county of Ambazonia. One county. Now Bakassi is not involved in this because in as much as we know, the exploitation of Bakassi has not commenced. So you can realize that Ndian County is not just the bread basket for Ambazonia, it's a bread basket for the entire Cameroon. Now, if you successfully cut off Ndian from the Yaoundé cabal, they will die in front of Ambazonia in less than no time. So you see, as we are drafting today, as we've decided, I'm talking to Ambazonians that might be having cold feet, heavy feet to participate in this draft today, to reconsider their decision, because this is the right thing we're doing. Think about it for 1 minute, that the major source of income in La République du Cameroon because their partners are not interested. Perhaps France, most probably France is sponsoring them, but their partners are no longer interested in financing them because of our resistance. Now think about the fact that as a people, as a generation, the never again generation, we successfully cut off the exploitation of the resources in Ndian. We win the war. And this works best through economic sabotage. I really wish that Jonas was here so that we could dig in his mind as a leader, in his vision as a leader of this county, to see what are his thoughts. But it's important. I really, if I knew we are going to have the challenges to connect with the chief of staff that promised to be a part of this discussion, I would have probably brought Barrister Tim and some others, and maybe the self-defense officials, so that we explain the importance of these things and see the possibility to ensure that Amazonians are collectively participating. Yes, Tata Jonas is just sending me a message which implies that he's finding some difficulties to connect. While we're waiting that the mark for the draft rises, let's get back to some minutes. I think I can foster this discussion by having Barrister Fru. Barrister Fru is here. I want to connect him on VMix. And I'd also like to have Barrister Tim, if possible, the SOS for defense. It will take me a few minutes to get them connected so that they can join us in this discussion. You know, some Amazonians have mistaken the draft to be a tribalistic venture. No, far from it. If you draft for your county big and you despise to draft for Ndian, you're doing a disservice to Amazonia. You despise drafting for Manu or Bui, especially Manu, Bui, and Kokitunja should be a responsibility for every Amazonian, considering what they are facing right now. Think about it. I heard an audio, and that audio was so enticing to me. Somebody actually, not from Bui County, actually applauding Bui for a successful October. Which means that as Amazonians, whether you're from Bui County or from Goketunja or from Ndian, you should be able to encourage these counties. And Ndian is strategic because we have to win Ndian. There was an argument sometime in 2019, and some were thinking that we have to invest a lot to win Ndian and kick out the occupiers completely from Ndian. If we can declare to the international community that we have a hold, a control on Ndian, we can control the resources, then we are free, because this is fact. This is archaeological fact. This is scientific fact proven that Ndian has 89% of oil. And that is what Cameroon is relying on. That's why Cameroon is killing people in Bui and Goketunja, because of this 90% of oil that is in Ndian. That's the reason you should draft for Ndian this evening. And another sweet part of it is that the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Amazonia is a daughter from Ndian. Only women who love their husband will tell you what that woman is going through to have a man who has been sacrificed on the altar to ensure that our freedom becomes a reality. He really doesn't have a life of his own and a life as a father. The president, for those of you who have taken responsibility, not those of you who are even close, if you have taken any responsibility in this trouble, you can imagine for 1 minute the responsibility that's on the decks of the president. It's not possible for you to be as effective as President Sako and be very, very effective as a father, which means that your family, your wife and children would have to partner with you, would have to sacrifice some of their pleasures having you as a father, so that you can serve Amazonia during this critical time of war. It's very important that we consider this as we are making up our minds to draft. Perhaps you have drafted $1, $2, $50, $100. After listening to this, you may want to triple that amount. Perhaps you were thinking, but this is not my county and I don't need to draft. Considering this, you may want to reconsider drafting for Ndian. Why I try to connect our experts in government so we can further the discussion. Let's get this music.
Sango Lucas ya be na mesa pas mama ke ko fay mori mi ngadi fenda ngondo ke wengere. He enjaborie nabora kote nabora ifo me amanyanga e okpombiru. Sakaba se kaka isungu mbanya ndabo sa kutaka buri bubandabo. Nibo sibasa kataka rumba. Ya yo. Wow. Mori mingambo baya Oma woke tabo maroko Ebongo Ota mori mingambo baya Oma woke tabo maroko babo Ebongo Ota mori mingambo baya Opemeke mati mamboka Ebongo Ondo ke wengere Pere Mokingari penda mononge toboro Mori mingabari penda Bombo nengondo ke Yo, tango pausi bokai bere boka bana bakpaki bokai yari ota mori mingambo baya o mawoke tabo moroko ota mori mingambo baya o paneke mati mamboka ota mori mingambo baya o paneke mati mamboka babo Wow. basuwaka wawose 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 ingolo inarokinya wawose wawose moroko basuwaka wawose wawose ingolo inarokinya wawose wawose iyayo uri mu munengo ndoke toboro wawose 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 ingolo inarokinya wawose wawose.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Barrister Fru, congratulations, you're welcome. Thank you for opting to join on a very brief notice. I hope Barrister Tim will be will be joining us in a few minutes. We're still hoping to have you populate the Zoom meeting. Ambazonians who are watching us, make sure you populate the Zoom meeting. But this is an essential discussion. We have been trying to talk with Tata Jonas for a while now, and his connection has not been the best. He's on the move. He promised to be in the Zoom in a few minutes' time. But let's continue this discussion. You heard me going through details. Welcome. And I want to use this opportunity to tell Amazonians that Barrister Fru is here, and he is going to tell you why he has been unable to come on TV for a while before we get into that. Go ahead.
But before I say that, I put my hand up because of the interesting commentaries you made about Ndian, which I know very well. Before let me say this: I have not been able to come on TV because my work schedule starts from 4 p.m. and ends at 12 midnight, and it is always difficult for me to join Amber TV. That is generally in the afternoons, and by midnight everything is gone. By 4 o'clock I am gone, so that is why I've not been able to join. That said, I am always free on weekends to join, so that is my only time that I can join freely Amber TV. That said, I listened to you very, very keenly about the commentaries you made about Ndian. And what I'm going to say now is based on my experience as a very young man. I went to Lobe, I went to Mondimba, I've been to Roba Estate. I know all those places. As a young man, as a teenager, I think I know Ndian very, very well. And let me tell you, the economic potential of Ndian is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And look, Ambazonia cannot survive without Ndian. Let me make this very clearly. First of all, let's start with the cash crops. Look at the oil production that Pamo produces. The largest production of palm oil in Cameroon, one of the largest, is Pamol. And the largest oil mill is in Mondimba. Of course, it's an oil mill in Lobe. That aside, we have a very big economic sabotage to carry out in Ndian. I don't know where we are going to get the funds or how we are going to get the financing. We cannot continue to allow La République du Cameroun exploit, even though they are not exploiting even up to 10% of the potentials of Ndian. Because you may well know, Paddy, the Gulf of Guinea is 25% of the world's oil deposit. It has 25% of the world's deposit. And what La Republic is exploiting now is just nothing. But they are doing it at our detriment. So if there is any look, when I first got to this country, I had a dream that Amazonians who are millionaires in this country will help us win this war. But hey, it looks like we are going the way of Eritrea. Eritrea was won by the ordinary Eritrean. The rich Eritreans stayed off. Today we are struggling, and there are rich Amazonians in the continental United States, in Canada, in continental Europe, and all over, and they are unwilling to help us. Because if they were carrying out an economic sabotage to free Ndian would have been easy with money. The means are there. The world has the means. I wouldn't go further than that. The world has the means. All you need is money. Because when I see La Republique doing what they are doing today, it's because they are still breathing from the resources they get from our territory, particularly Indian. You may want to know that some of those rigs have some of the oil has been sold 10 years in advance.
That means people have something that is not theirs. They have sold it. They have pledged.
They have sold it. Yes, something that is not theirs. And I listened to some loud talking politicians in Nigeria talking about reopening the Bakassi case. That case is closed, but it's not closed for us, because La Republique went to court with Nigeria on Bakassi. Bakassi is Indian, and we tried to file an interpleader. I don't know whether you guys know what I mean by interpleader. As a third-party interpleader. Yes, as an interested party. We tried to file, and it was shoved away. And that explains why the United Nations General Assembly President visited Cameroon and instead of presenting the map of Cameroon, they presented two maps. One for La Republique of Cameroon and one for Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. I don't know whether we all know that. We've seen that.
That map.
That is to indicate that these are two countries that because of the manipulation in the United Nations are considered as one country. But at least it was indicated that Southern Cameroon is a partner in what happened in the case in Bakassi. So we will be asking, let La Republique continue to exploit. We will be asking when the time comes for our own share of that oil from the time they seceded from us. And you may want to know that they are the ones who seceded first, not us. They walked away in 1984.
Yeah.
And they expected us to stay on. What I'm trying to say, Paddy, is that Ndian, we Amazonians should draft today knowing that Ndian is our live wire. There is no joking about Ndian. Okay, let me go to the cash. We must win Ndian. We must get Ndian. We must take out La Republique from Ndian, whatever it takes.
And this is the primary reason why France will enhance La Republique du Cameroon to fight us and kill every soul because of Ndian.
Because we don't have because we don't at this moment now we don't yet have the means to conduct a real economic sabotage. Otherwise, they will be running. Because if we had the means, they will be running. Look at the Delta state of Nigeria.
Nigeria.
You saw what happened for Nigeria to Melo. The boys conducted an economic sabotage, and the government was forced to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
Okay, we are not looking for negotiation with anybody because that part is our country. We just want to drive away the occupier.
Sorry, but do you think that if we really get a hold on Ndian, don't you think that international partners will even take us seriously? Because the president said something in his speech. Perhaps I can cue you in with this. The president made a statement. I might not be quoting word verbatim, but he said, La République has arrogantly boycotted a peaceful process in a region where you have a lot of stakeholders and stakeholdings. He's talking about the Gulf of Guinea.
Correct.
Now, owing to this, if we get a hold of Ndian, don't you think international partners might take us seriously? Because those hoping to partner with them might now start thinking, okay, they can make real friendship with us.
Let me tell you this, buddy. If we take Ndian, if we have the means to take Ndian, we have won the war. International partners will have no choice because listen to me very carefully. No two countries have independence twice. No, I don't know of any. We had our own. If you go to the United Nations records, yes,
yeah.
You go to the United Nations records, they classify us as people who have already been decolonized. But they forget to know that the decolonization was incomplete because they attach conditions to our own independence by joining.
Yeah.
And that is where the problem is. And with the complicity of Great Britain, France, and the United Nations. Now, if we take Ndian, if we successfully take Ndian,
we can now talk big.
The war is over because we will now control the Gulf of Guinea completely. And what would the international stakeholders do? Especially those who are working with La Republic to exploit us, will want to renegotiate, will want to keep us. That's why I think that France is playing with fire. Because if France was wise enough, they should be talking to us. We're not begging them.
I think, Mr. Tim, I think that France is wise enough. But France, Barrister Fu, you have to forgive me on that again. Now, I think that is that because I'm expecting him to join this discussion. But as soon as the county or resource mobilization tells us to stop, I wouldn't mind for us to just stop. But it's important because there are feelings that I'm maybe making an assumption, but there are chances that some Ambazonians, as we speak, might be on the sidewalk, might be on the fence, thinking if they would have to really commit to drafting to Ndian. Perhaps if we bring the technicalities involved on the table and highlight this in the minds of the people, they may want to consider not just drafting, but drafting really big. So from what you're seeing right now, if we have Ndian, if our strategies can enable us to control that territory, our language can change and the dynamics will automatically change.
La Republic will have no say in the Gulf of Guinea, and that's a big game. It's a big one for us. The international partners, the international stakeholders who are already there exploiting our resources on our back, will have to sit up and come back and see us. We're not begging. It's our natural. It's our land, our God-given land, and nobody Nobody except us, except the indigents of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, have a right to exploit anything in any part of our territory. And La Republic is doing it with arrogance. That's why they can walk away from negotiations and international peaceful negotiation, and they are still talking. And they want us to do damage control by going to Canada. Total rubbish.
I like
They
the way you
will
put it. A damage
they
control.
will come running like
But
the president said. That the president said they will come running, and if they don't come running, they will meet us in the United Nations as member states. It has gotten
no,
to a
but
point where La Republic is now desperately looking for damage control, and they are using our people. Can you imagine us meeting in Canada with our brothers on the other side? Nah.
no, but I like the
Even
statement the interim
if
government
Dr.
sent out
Sako
on
decides to
Thursday.
take, even if Dr. Sako decides to take the last Amazonian and the LGA and send to Canada, we will not do that, because that will be our presence, and La Republic can go out now and sing the usual song. Now we're already talking to the separatists, you know.
Yes,
Okay,
and war has to do with propaganda, and La Republique. What I'm still trying to factor out is what gave the temerity, the audacity of French Cameroon to boycott, because that was a blunder when it comes to diplomacy.
No, they
It
have
was a
not
blunder
boycotted.
for them to,
No, you're using the
for
wrong
them,
word. They have not
yeah.
boycotted. They refused to come to the talks after having given their intention to participate for 2 years.
Okay, they gave an intention.
Yes,
So do you agree with that school of thought that says that they did that in a way to keep us sleeping while they get on with fragmenting our ranks? Because just
I
at the
have
time
seen.
when Manos is calling himself a president and Marietta is calling herself a president, and then they are beheading our people, they are infiltrating our system. The lots of things were happening at the same time. Some armed men are trying to arrest clergies. There's a UN General Assembly just at the door. We are getting the news that they're not interested.
Hey,
There's a
Somba,
lot that makes us
the other day Somba has told them that you are not serious. This thing that you are doing will take you nowhere. They kept away for 2 years because they were working to destabilize this interim government. They were working to destabilize all the structures that were put together so that they can have a free way, and then they can say, oh, the matter is over. We have reconciled with our brothers. Yeah. Listen, they misfired 2 years of firing in the air. Because why did they stay for 2 years before making that announcement? And why have they made the announcement? Because do they think that they have succeeded with Christopher Pobene? And a man who doesn't have the intellectual capacity to meet La Republique? They think they have succeeded.
Now, this is fun time. I'm yet to investigate something. There's a fun time, Barrister. I'm yet to investigate to get some details. But in this fun time, I heard Coopers, under his leadership, are trying to write a petition. Should I even call it a petition? A memo. The best way I should call it, because a petition has a legal base. But then they're trying to write a memo to the international community to say that Dr. Sako has been impeached. That is scandalous. It's not only primitive, it's dumb. Because from the foundation of it, what were the processes that led to a purported impeachment? Did they even read our constitution? Did they follow the constitution? What were the basis of that? If at all you can even rate it as an impeachment. Does impeachment even mean?
I don't know whether they have, Paddy, I don't know whether they have
Go
any
ahead.
lawyers. I don't know whether they have any lawyers. No lawyer, no matter how the quality of the lawyer, will write that kind of thing in the international community. You must study international law to know that that is a non-starter.
It's
How do you
stupid.
impeach a man in the kitchen and then tell the whole world that you have impeached a man 9 months or 11, is it 10 months after? Let them write. that would amount to stupidity, because nobody will take them seriously. I'm
I posted earlier on that Amazonia will not take responsibility for the ignorance of Chris Ano. There are some mistakes when you see a bunch of people making. You can now start questioning their leadership. You hear on his platform, he stands and he tells the world, if they shoot a baby in Amazonia, we're going to shoot a baby in La République du Cameroon. If they kill our people, that's as foolish. And when I listened to the president on Thursday, the way he spoke, I'm like, there's no match. He spoke something like, I remember when McCain was campaigning for presidency, he said there are some things you don't talk about, especially attacking terrorists. There's a way you talk. There is a diplomatic language. There is a war language.
Exactly.
And this man doesn't understand communication for him to understand that.
Yes.
He's mistaken.
I would say
unscrupulous activism for presidency.
Yes, I would say our president was very tactical. He spoke like a diplomat. And anybody who was in that meeting who knows something, who can read between the lines, read everything he said. You know, it's not everything you say. It's not everything you say publicly. Diplomacy is done quietly, Paddy. Diplomacy is done quietly. You don't put your diplomatic endeavors online. You don't. That's the last thing you do. Because if you do, you, instead of talking to somebody in the office, you'll be talking to that person on the corridor or on the street. Diplomacy is quiet. He just gave us a brief summary of where we are diplomatically. And anybody who can read between the lines will decipher exactly what he said. And that is how a diplomat speaks.
What I enjoyed the most was not where we are diplomatically.
Let me expand a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
The coup plotters can write whatever rubbish they want to write. Until somebody questions us, we will not reply. Because our reply means we're bringing ourselves down to their level. If they
we're taking ourselves.
Yes, if they were functional at this level, they should have had a debate before they did what they did. They tactlessly did stupidity. They showed the world how stupid they were. And non-entities that have not been to school, I'm not going to call names. They go and formulate some kind of a trial without a defendant, and you expect the world to respect that kind of rubbish.
Now, I like for us to always refresh the minds of Ambazonians, so some people don't get misunderstood. They don't get us wrong. This was, should I even call it a trial? Because these were arbitrators.
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
At the end of a trial, some of their captains, the EPAs, came back on TV we have it on record.
We don't have the evidence. We cannot get evidence.
They were expecting to get evidence. This is scandalous.
Even if you have to give a default judgment in trial, even if you have to give a default judgment, you must have your facts, you must have the evidence together. Because it's based on that evidence that anybody who was hurt by that default judgment will come back for trial. But there was no trial. There was nothing. And then they themselves started complaining. We have been waiting for evidence from this and this person, from that and that person, from that and that person, up to today that we are speaking, Paddy. Where is that evidence? Let them write to whoever they are writing in the international community. Until somebody asks us, we will reply, and we'll reply diplomatically. I know diplomacy is quiet. We don't make noise. We are working for the actualization of our sovereignty, and we cannot be distracted by anybody, including Chris Anu, Ayabacho, Komita Elvis, and the rest. You name them. We cannot be distracted.
You see, this is quite important, Ambazonians, as you following this discussion. It is calculated. We thought that we could bring this discussion at this time in relation to the importance for us winning Ndian as a county.
Oh,
Our
yes.
energies at this particular time, we must synergize for Ndian. If the federal government wants to take Ndian personal, Amazonians, we need to understand the importance of winning this county for Ndian. We'll be right back. Let me verify with the authorities. We'll be right back with this discussion. If they want us to stop now, we will stop. But while they are putting up logistics together, we'll be right back as you enjoy this beautiful music. So stay tuned.
Yihim, Jubilio, Jubilio, Okome, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo. Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Wanyake Muparara, Asabuka Kaburu Ongo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo. Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo, Itongiba Susue, Isaritaka Kekebo, Isaritaka Kekebo. Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Katananga no, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngo sasa kibobere murimba, Osafa kakabe sebanya mombese. Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke, Ngombe kombe matingae, Diori sati ngweneke, Diori sati ngweneke. Was Ngawanja sa kofi omuke bamuvanga ngari ka umuza kalifanja yeah two Libokeri Libokeri mongo masuswe Libokeri Libokeri mongo masuswe Libokeri mangoma suswe dibokeri dibokeri mangoma suswe dibokeri oye dibokeri mangoma suswe dibokeri Jumirio weka Jumirio weka osaga bakangando ngosi tokwele mbodo te mariba was dibokeri mangoma suswe dibokeri 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 oye dibokeri mangoma suswe dibokeri Jumirio weka Jumirio weka yamba tukene etukene nangomba o yamba tukene was yamba tukene oye etukene nangomba o yamba tukene 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 oye etukene nangomba o yamba tukene etukene nangomba o etukene nangomba o etukene nangomba o etukene nangomba o was etukene nangomba o etukene nangomba o ndanyamandi komo bengako nanaku keke bomozanga sango mukumba nake masango nyama kumbu mundo munongo nja kumerie nake masango nyama kumi mundo munongo nja kumerie nja kumerie owe nja kumerie sango kofi bayo na sango kofi jaru kokwani nja kumerie nja kumerie sango dibanalo sango nyama kumi mundo munongo nja kumerie nja kumerie nja kumerie nja kumerie nja kumerie we nja kumerie nja kumerie
Yes, welcome back, Barrister Fro. We just have an indication from Barrister Tim Beseha that he cannot be a part of this discussion. But I think we have to ride on. We have just a few more minutes. In the next, right on top of the hour, the Zoom session of this draft for tonight would begin. And I'm calling on, I will stop the broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube so that you can join the president in the Zoom meeting. It's not appropriate for the president to be there and you're not there. So I will stop the stream. And when the president is about to stream, is about to address the nation, we will come back live. Now, this is something to continue where we stopped in our discussion, looking at everything involved, Ndian being the breadbasket with full of natural resources. You have palm oil, you have the crude oil that they are killing. They are killing close to 50,000 Amazonians today to have or to own. If you are supposed to, this is a question I should be asking to the president and maybe the vice president. But you're an advisor to this government. If you would want to advise the government looking towards our national strategic policy, what will you advise us to do at this time? Do you think
Before
we
I
need to
answer
get
that
back to the drawing tables and
yes,
revisit
yeah.
some
Before I
things to
answer that
see?
question,
Yes, go ahead,
yeah.
please.
Before I answer that question, I want to call on all rich Amazonians, in continental United States, in continental Europe, in Asia, and in South and Central America, because they are there. Please help us liberate Ndian. Ndian needs a lot of money to be liberated. If you put that money in the hands of this interim government, we can promise you that we will liberate Ndian in a very short time. Because La Republic is still standing tall and talking rubbish because they still have some money coming in because of Ndian. Their economy now is sinking because we cut off palm oil from them. We cut off all kinds of resources from the southern Cameroon and Amazonia, taxes and everything, and they are now on the ground, even though they may still breathe because of the oil that they are drilling in our territory. Listen, from the World Bank records, economic records, Amazonia was contributing between 65 and 70% of the GDP of La République du Cameroon. If they argue with me, let them go and verify. The GDP of La République du Cameroon, they were getting between 60 and 70% of their resources from southern Cameroon and Amazonia. That includes the oil, that includes the palm oil, that includes the cocoa, that includes, you name it, taxes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the payroll taxes that Sonara and CDC were paying? Everything was going to La République du Cameroon. The oil revenue, the palm oil, the money, the balance of, the balance of payment coming from the palm oil exportation went to La République du Cameroon. So we need our rich brothers and sisters, and they are there to help us liberate Ndian and liberate the southern Cameroon and Amazonia. That is a call I am making again today. Ndian, and before I continue, I'd like to pay homage to our restoration forces in Ndian, because they have done a marvelous job and they will continue to do a marvelous job.
The expendables.
They are dependable. They are dependable. They are committed to the liberation of the southern Cameroon and Amazonia, especially Ndian. The sons and daughters of Ndian are suffering today. I told you that when I was young, a teenager, I went to Ndian. How did I go? It was a difficult task to get to Ndian. Even today, it is still difficult. You have La Republic flying with helicopters to go and collect crude oil from Ndian. They fly with helicopters to go and hold meetings with the management of palm oil, so that they see how they can increase production of palm oil. They can no longer do that now. They can only do it on the rigs that they control with the corrupt international stakeholders that are drilling oil on our territory. We need to liberate Ndian. You liberate Ndian, you have liberated the southern Cameroon and Amazonia immediately. I am not saying that if you don't give us, if you the rich Amazonia, you don't give us the resources, I'm not telling you that we will not liberate Ndian, but it may take some time, but we will liberate Ndian effectively, just like Eritrea liberated itself. Yes, Paddy, I am ready to answer more of your questions. Are you there or you are frozen?
I'm doing some setup. I think we have to be stopping any moment from now. They
Okay,
just
that will
indicated
be fine.
I have to stop. Now, there's a quick question I want you to answer. If you would have to
Yes,
advise this
yes, I've not answered that question. Let me answer that
yes,
question.
thank you.
Those are questions that we cannot answer publicly, buddy. We have all kinds of ways of doing what we do. And I'm not going to sit here and start telling you, oh, the government will do this, the government will do that. There are certain security questions that are only discussed in the situation room. Okay? Are you getting me?
Yes, Barrister Afro, I'm getting you. I'm
Yes,
getting
there
you
are
very
certain
loud
things
and
that we
clear.
can only discuss. We can only discuss in the situation room. Let nobody deceive you. We have the means of doing what we can do, but we have to be very calculative. We have to be to look at it from all angles. This government is working and it's working hard, and Ndian will be liberated.
Yeah, okay. I think that what we've said this evening is sufficient enough to make Amazonians understand the and perhaps should remind us that 90% of everything petroleum in the Cameroons, whatever you've heard that Cameroon is doing, which we know is an underestimation of what they are exploiting, it's coming from Dian. This is
Correct.
a report that they are the ones even giving to the world that
That
it
is
is
the only
coming.
small part that they exploit, buddy. If you look at the oil deposits in Bakassi and all over, they are not even exploiting up to 10%.
Yeah.
And we will make sure that they don't increase whatever they have there now. And that is a task for our restoration forces in Dian. And our field marshal Ten Kobo is aware of this and he knows it and is working.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, that from the situation room to the home front, they are aware of the stakes involved and they know that Ambazonia is looking up to them. Fellow Ambazonians, ladies and stakeholders, you have heard it all. We are going to win the war. We can win the war. We have to be strategic. We have to understand drafting for every county is important. But when you are looking strategy of war, there are some emphasis that need to be made, not just with our talking, but with our giving. The emphasis this evening has been laid on Dian, and we hope that county authorities, officials will take this from a perspective that is needed. From a patriotic standpoint, you were not born in Dian, but you are considering Dian a strategic place where your resources should go for a free homeland. Thank you very much, Barrister Fru. Perhaps you want to give a last statement. I would have asked you to do that in the dialect, but unfortunately,
No, I
this is
will only
create
do
a
it in
gap.
English. I will only do it
Yes,
in
this will
English so
create
that
a gap.
everybody should get me. I
Yeah.
am calling on all of us to dip into our pockets and let's continue to keep those boys working. They need us and they need us 24/7. Let's come out today and draft Pontian and draft it's the federal government that is going to take control of Ndian right now because it is too big for any one group to control. The federal government must come in on the side of Ndian and take control of whatever happens there with our fighters. They are doing a marvelous job. I like we say in our slogan, when a cafe day up. I thank all of you. I thank the young men and women who are fighting in Dian to make sure that we are liberated. Thank you very much.
Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we drop. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort? While our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Ambazonia die as a wish, because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
Angolo de plaisir et côté du James encore. Bato e baso boroko hima se roko e se ronoko nye nyago se mokana nye denye wo bato e baso boroko hima se roko se ronoko nye nyago se mokana nye denye wo Mamweni denye denye Oroko denye Mande mango masi wani tete one wo paradis Oroko moto na moko Abene mbonge bakuzubi mabatanga Ekombe manondo bananga Manondo baliko bakoko Korona barombi Ise moto moko